Welcome to What Lights Up Your Soul. In this show, we talk about real life stories, practical tools, and honest conversations about what it takes to get out of your own way, take bold action, and build a life you truly love. All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to my show, Light Up Your Soul. So these are going to be different stories where you're going to be able to really dig deep into what is bubbling up inside you so that you can actually figure out what is lighting up your soul. Then there's also going to be other episodes where I'm going to have guests on here where they can go ahead and share their wisdom so that all of my listeners can take whatever the gifts that they're sharing so that they can figure out what lights up their souls as well. So welcome, Diana. Diana is a beautiful guest and friend of mine. Diana is a CEO and founder of Diana Camba Coaching and a certified grief coach and over 30 years of experience. Her journey began at the age of 6 after the death of her uncle, sparking a lifelong commitment to helping others navigate grief with grace and strength. So glad that you are here today.
Thank you, Sharon. I'm really glad to be here too. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. So happy to have you. So I know we've had so much to talk about, but I know that you've had such incredible history and exposure to grief. But you've lived through deep personal loss yourself, and you've also guided others professionally. So what have those experiences taught you about grief that most people just really don't understand?
Well, I have found that there's just so many different ways of grieving, and I like to help people on their unique journey through their grief. Have you ever felt like your heart was just ripped out and you felt empty and you just didn't know who you were anymore? I can know exactly how that feels because that's happened to me several times through the years. And I had 3 major losses before I was 10 years old, and also a major loss 3 months after I graduated high school, just to name a few. But one day I was relaxing in my bedroom, listening to John Denver, Country Roads, and my dad came in and said, "We have to talk." So I bolted up in bed and I'm like, "Oh no, what did I do wrong?" And my dad sat down on the bed next to me. He got really quiet. He put his arm around me and told me that my best friend, Michelle, had just been found murdered in her home. I was devastated. I cried uncontrollably. My dad couldn't comfort me. I just felt like my heart had been ripped out, so empty, and that all the dreams we had talked about, they were just shattered and gone. And I was lost and in a fog, wondering if the killer would come after me. And a few months off on my birthday, I actually shot up in bed and I heard Michelle's voice. And she was telling me, "Don't cry, I'm happy. And keep going and doing the things that we dreamed about. I'll always be with you." And sometime later, after talking to my dad and getting outside support, I learned that grief isn't a problem to solve. It's an experience to honor. And most people try to fix grief or rush past it. But grief is love with nowhere to go. True healing begins when we allow space for it without guilt or shame. And I rediscovered my life and the meaning and purpose. And I'm honored my grief over by reminding me of Michelle and moving forward. I honor Michelle in doing this grief coaching. And as a retired funeral director turned grief coach with over 30 years, I just feel so blessed to be here to help families through this journey. And I want to continue serving others through their grief in honor of Michelle as she taught me.
Wow. And that's absolutely incredible. And I can see that through your journey and through your healing that you've actually grown, you've processed, you found and I know it's hard to say gift in whatever the situation was, but you talked about finding your purpose. So what does that really look like for someone who feels completely lost, especially right when they're experiencing this grief? But what does that look like for someone who feels really, really lost right now?
Well, have you ever walked into your home and just had this eerie silence. And I've had that happen to me on more than one occasion. My mom actually died on her birthday 15 years ago, and it was a 6-hour drive to take my dad back home to where they lived. And as I unlocked the front door, we walked into the entryway, and on the floor was a penny, and you could hear a pin drop. The silence was so eerie. And my mom always said pennies were from heaven. They're your loved ones telling you that they're thinking of you, they love you. And so we felt my mom's presence. But at the same time, usually when you walk through that door, you would hear laughter and a lot of voices and music. And it was so strange walking into that house just to complete silence. And we just discovered after 60 years of my parents being together, the two as one, and now it was just my dad, he felt lost, he felt empty, and didn't know who he was anymore. He had to rediscover who he was without my mom, find new meaning and purpose. But purpose after loss isn't about moving on, it's about moving forward with meaning. You don't have to forget the person that you lost. You can bring them with you and rebuild a life rooted in love, service, and hope. My dad moved forward with purpose and carried mom with him every step of the way for 12 years until he reunited with her, and they're now back together. So I've really found that, it's real important to realize that it's not about moving on, but moving forward with your loved one with you.
Got it. And that's actually really beautiful in the way that you're saying it is moving on moving on with purpose. It's almost like figuring out, like, processing, having your loved one with you, and then figuring out what's next. And then having some significance for that. So that's really beautiful. Thank you for that. For someone who's actually listening right now, who's actually grieving, what's one powerful step that you can give them that they can take away to start actually healing right now?
Well, the first thing that I realize is that there's no time limit on grief, and everyone grieves differently. Your grief is as unique as your fingerprint. Michelle passed away 56 years ago, and I still carry her in my heart. My grief was so strong. And when she first passed, I found that taking things slowly and at my pace, not what somebody else felt I should do, but at my own pace, that really helped. And the smallest step, even if it's just naming your grief, take it a step at a time. Don't even take it a day at a time. You start with doing an hour at a time and move up to half a day, and then take a look at a full day. And naming my fear that her killer would come for me, naming my grief of losing my best friend and confidant, and speaking it out loud. I felt empty, lost, and alone. So what I did is I wrote her a letter saying things that I wish I had said, and reaching out for support, talking to people who have gone through what you're going through. It really helps to talk to somebody who understands. And healing often begins with just the acknowledgement. Grief doesn't demand perfection, just presence. And you must work through the pain in order to get to the other side of the grief, so you can smile again and be happy and have joy in your heart again, while carrying your loved one along with you on your new journey, the next chapter of your life. They're always with you, and you're never truly alone.
That's beautiful. And from what I'm taking away from that is even just a smallest step, and then just taking it in little bites at a time, that there is a way to move on with purpose and in figuring out what's next with your loved one. That's very beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. So if my audience would love to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you and get more information from you?
Well, my website is cambacoaching.com. So that's C-A-M as in Mary, B as in boy, A, coaching.com. And please feel free to go ahead and drop me a note or send me an email, Diana@cambacoaching.com. I would love to share with you one of my e-booklets and just talk. I'm more than happy just to have a conversation and see where you're at, see if there's anything I can do to assist. If not, just having a conversation together really, I find, helps. So feel free to contact me, and I'd love to hear from you.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Diana, for coming on the show. I so appreciate you and the work that you're doing in this world, and really just standing next to people in their grief, and that letting them know that there is something more and there is something that is next. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Well, thank you, Sharon, for having me. I really appreciate it. You have a blessed day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for coming to the Sharon Vidano Show. I hope you had an amazing time, and I hope this episode served you. My intention is to help you live a life you love. If you love the show, please like, subscribe, and tell your friends, and I'll see you in the next episode.